Hello everyone, Dennis Ball here. Welcome to our Pride special episode featuring our very special guest, Adriana A. She'll be telling us about her trans journey, gender identity, growing up trans, and more. So please click subscribe and the bell icon and let's get to it. Hello.
Hi.
Adriana A. Hello.
Well, hello there, Dennis Ball. How are you?
I'm fantastic. We made it happen. This is a sort of belated Pride special because, you were traveling all over the desert doing photo shoots and during Pride Month. If you would be open to it, I think it would be great if you could talk about what it's like to be trans.
I'm very much an open book, and you can ask me anything. And I mean, I don't want to say there are no stupid questions because there are.
Well, let's start with the basics. What's your pronoun?
My pronoun is she or her, she, her.
Uh-huh.
However, I think it's important to note that it hasn't always been. And
Right.
in fact, for quite a while, I identified as non-binary, and I used they, their pronouns for a few years.
And what?
That is 100% valid for anyone who does not feel that they are necessarily masculine or necessarily feminine. And increasingly, it is a pronoun used for people that reject a gender binary.
Right.
Which wasn't necessarily my experience. It wasn't like I rejected a gender binary. I was very much aware of a gender binary, and I still am. And that is also valid. But it was more like they, there seemed like that was kind of like who I was my entire life. I've always sort of been, I was, assigned male at birth is the correct terminology. In back in the past, we would just say it was like born male, but I wasn't really born male. I was born with parts that might appear male, but this was never exactly male.
Right.
And so there was always like this off feeling, but at the same time, my experience was never the, there is this traditional cookie cutter transgender narrative that's super easy to explain. And it's sort of the generic trans narrative of I was born in the wrong body.
Right.
And I never quite felt like I was born in the wrong body. Like things felt off. But it's like I've been my gender dysphoria was always so much from the neck up. And, like there are some transgender that really are so sketched out by their body. And it's like, get rid of it, get rid of this. I hate myself in the mirror.
Right.
I was never like that. I think I identified more with feminine things and the femme side of things. But at the same time, there were like occasionally, I hate I hate to divide things up along traditional gender roles, because there are boys who like to play with dolls. There are girls who like to play with toy trucks,
Right.
So
or balls.
Right, exactly. Well, I think if you like to play with tennis balls, tennis is sort of,
Yes.
gender neutral, tennis. This goes both ways.
It does.
Maybe that's why I like you, Dennis Ball.
Thank you. I'm on one side of the court, then I'm on the other side of the court, then I'm on the other side of the court, then I'm over the fence and off into the parking lot behind the dumpster. So, all right, let me ask you again, one more time.
Sorry.
On the driver's license thing, right? So you fought tooth and nail to get non-binary gender designation on your state of California driver's license. Am I correct?
I did. Yes, I was part of, part of a movement to, activist movement to change that in the state of California. There is an X on my California driver's license,
But now, do you feel like you stopped at X and you should have kept going to F? And are you like,
No,
F? I should have done F.
I know, right? Well, let me explain the whole X thing. Because I legally changed my gender with the state of California, with like legal documentation and everything way before it was allowed on a driver's license. It was before California V recognized non-binary gender. So I think I was like the 13th person in the country to legally change their gender. But the California, it's all about the DMV,
Do
until
you
the
hang out
DMV
with the
makes
other
it official.
12?
Well, I don't know who the other 12
You
are.
don't? Because they'd probably be kind of a cool group of people to hang out with.
It would probably be pretty interesting. I went to the DMV, the California DMV, to try to change it, and they're like, "Yeah," slid the paper back to me, the court document, and they're like, "Yeah, you need to come back in about 6 months because this doesn't take effect." But then, literally on January 2nd, at like 9 o'clock in the morning, right when the DMV opened up, I was there. I had made my appointment months in advance because I wanted to be the first person to get that non-binary X on their driver's license.
Oh,
And
yes.
so there is an X on my driver's license. I do like having that X because on my ID, even though I feel definitely more female these days than what I think a lot of people consider non-binary. To me, being transgender is somewhat inherently non-binary, but not
Yes.
everyone shares that viewpoint. Keep in mind, there are definitely the people who are like, no, transgender women are women. And I'm like, I understand that point of view. Definitely transgender women should be treated as women. And that's why that is such a rallying cry, because it's like, don't other us, please just lump us in with this binary that already exists and let us just be women. But for me personally, transgender women are transgender women. We
Right.
definitely have our own flavor. So
Yes.
and that's totally okay.
And set of experiences and so forth that, are unique.
Exactly.
It's a
I'm sorry, Dennis, you just got me going.
I'm glad I did. So, do you find with your passport and your license having different designations, do you find that it's an obstacle to you when you travel to have to make explanations, or do people not really care that much?
People don't really care. I have yet to run into any issue whatsoever traveling. I feel like when I'm traveling domestically, especially in the United States, people are at least aware of transgender people in the US. So, it's like if you see an X, and then it's kind of like, oh, okay. And they probably, if I'm in, other states that maybe are more conservative than California, I'm sure they see the X and then see, oh yeah, those people in California. But when
So,
I'm
do you think
traveling
has it improved?
internationally,
Has it improved over the years?
honestly, I never really had an issue traveling
You're so
ever.
self-confident. I think that you just are like, whatever. I don't even care. I don't even notice if you're freaked out because I'm on my way to get sushi or whatever, you know?
um,
Seriously, I think you're just so self-confident sometimes. You are just, which I think is a wonderful trait.
well, fake it till you make it, really. I mean, I wasn't always this self-confident, and a lot of it is just like a little bit of putting blinders on. It's like when I was a teenager, like I said, I've always been pretty feminine. So I think, I was picked on a lot as a kid. Kids pick up on these things. They know you're different. They might not necessarily know exactly how or why you're different, but they know you're different. And so I think I just sort of like kind of always had a little bit of this armor, and it was just like, you don't affect me. You can call me whatever names you want, whatever. And eventually, if whether you feel it or not, if you just sort of pretend, Oscar Wilde has a great quote, you are who you pretend to be. And so it was like, okay, I'm going to pretend to be confident. And eventually that confidence came. So when I was traveling, looking, I mean, super feminine. I mean, I look at my passport photo from 2000, and I am like, I was in a glam rock band. I was like done up. I have, gorgeous long hair and and beautiful, perfect makeup, but it said M on my passport. But
Right.
whatever.
When you were growing up, who were some role models you looked up to that allowed you to be more authentically you? You know, I know David Bowie is one.
I didn't really become familiar with David Bowie until I was about 16 years old. So actually kind of like a little bit late. But if we're talking like adolescence, you know, like 13, 14, 15 kind of thing, Duran Duran, I would say. Not necessarily all the members of Duran Duran, but Nick Rhodes, the keyboard player, was
yes.
always like wearing full face of makeup and beautiful hair. It had a very feminized appearance, but
Nick
wasn't
Rhodes
like,
was one of the hottest ones, I thought.
well, in my opinion, but you know, he wasn't like a Boy George or a Pete Burns. I mean, we're talking that whole like early 80s British new wave scene.
Yes.
You know, there was definitely more of like this, like, it was pre-metrosexual. I mean, the term did not exist, but obviously that's sort of what Duran Duran were. They were like, you know, metrosexual before there was even a term for it.
Yes.
And just very confident in this like feminized appearance. And so I found that very like, oh, you know what, I can just be who I want. And you know, that had a strong effect on, you know, little, you know, 14-year-old Adriana.